All right. Well, thank you for joining us. My name is Ross Yelsey. I work here in the Office of Admission and Financial Aid here at Columbia Journalism School. I don't know if you've gone to other webinars in the past, but it's great to see you again if this is not your first time coming to a Columbia Journalism School session. But as our title suggests, this is called Where to Begin. This is a session that we actually held the first time in September, just after our application for admission opened for this current cycle. But we know a lot of people, don't apply to graduate school perfectly, right on the date that we actually open the application. Maybe they think about grad school a little later into the fall. They start thinking about their options, want to explore the different programs and opportunities. And so, it's November now, but the good news is for Columbia Journalism School, our deadline for our master's programs, doctoral program are still coming up. There's about a little over a month to get application materials together if you are thinking of applying. But this session is here for people who are just kind of still figuring out exactly what program they might want to apply for. Because I think overall, the most important thing when you are applying to a grad program is to definitely make the best case for the fit that you would have for that program. So this session is really intended to give a better sense of what each program offers at Columbia Journalism School and help you better understand based on what your background is, what your goals are, what particular program would be the best fit. So when you do, if you are writing an application, if you do write that application, you can make the best case explaining about why what you want to do and what your kind of ideas for your career are best fit with the program that you're applying for. Because what we look for in an application, whatever program you're applying for, is that fit. Because all of our programs in the master's program world are very short. So people do a ton of work and they get out there and they report like real journalists right away. And so it's very intensive. It's great, but we want to make sure if you're going to be in a program that short and intense that you're really, making a case for that. That's what you want to do because we wouldn't want to admit people who come to the school and feel like, oh, actually, this is not what I bargained for. I didn't really understand what this program was, and actually, this isn't what I want to do. So this is a great session at this point just to give a better overview of each program and what they offer and the different strengths of each. So I'm going to go over that through some different scenarios. If you went to our earlier session, this might be a bit of a repeat, but I did create some new scenarios for this session. Will allow you to give some input on what your thoughts are for which program in these scenarios are the best fit for these, fictional people. And then we'll have some chance to have you ask some questions at the end too. So hold tight on that. And if you are thinking more of questions about the application process, the nitty gritty of transcripts, work samples, all that good stuff, we're actually going to hold a session coming up on the 19th. I'll put the link in the chat a little later if you want to talk more about that. This session is more about the fit in the program and kind of how each one will work for each prospective applicant and kind of giving a better idea of what each program offers. For more of the application, financial aid stuff, we'll be doing more sessions in that realm very soon. So if you have those questions, hold on to them and we'll get you answers very shortly about that part of the process. But with no further ado, I will go and I will share my screen here and we will take a look at some scenarios for different ways of looking at the programs we have and figure out which, again, is the best fit for certain kinds of people with certain ambitions and certain backgrounds. Because some programs are a little more strict on what people might be already trained in when they do come to the school. So again, as I said, this is where to begin if you're just beginning. So we're going to start from scratch. And of course, don't feel any concern if you are just thinking about grad school at Columbia for the next year and you haven't done your homework yet. You haven't gone to all of our web pages. You haven't attended any of our webinars before. This will hopefully give you a good grounding in which programs are out there and which ones might suit your particular needs and goals. And just to give a quick overview of the different programs, hopefully, some of you have already looked through our website and got a sense on the different programs we offer. Our school is only a graduate school, as people probably know, so we don't have undergrad degrees. We do have quite an array of master's degrees, and we also have one smaller doctoral program in communications. So overall, those are the Master of Science program, which is a program that is kind of the program the school was founded with, in a sense. And it's a program that offers all the kind of essential journalism training that anyone would need to do any type of journalism, whether it's written journalism, breaking news journalism, long form journalism, audio, video, broadcast, all of that, investigative data journalism. You can get a good amount of training in all those different areas under the umbrella of the Master of Science program. So we have a broader MS program. As you might see, we don't have specific majors within the MS program, so you don't see a breakdown of a Master of Science broadcast major, Master of Science magazine major, Master of Science business business reporting major. It all really lives in that program. So if you are thinking of Master of Science and you want to apply to that, rest assured that if you have a particular interest in mediums or subjects, that training lives under that, and you don't need to apply by like indicating a specific track you're going to go on within that. But you can choose courses in it that will definitely correspond to your own interests, the ones you know you have now, and maybe ones that you'll explore and find out you really love later as you get to the school. We do have two specific specializations, though, for people who have very strong interest in areas of journalism in the MS program. So as you see, if you really want to get into investigative reporting and follow that kind of path as a career, we do have an investigative specialization, which is one that will offer you much more focused training in investigative work, while also giving you the foundational skills the MS program offers everybody. Similarly, the MS documentary specialization is also one that offers the fundamental training of the MS program, but then builds very strong focused training in documentary filmmaking skills, both the technical and the storytelling skills. And you produce a short documentary as your kind of capstone project in the MS documentary specialization. So it's for people who really want to go down that road of, creating documentaries, working in that world after they graduate. And for people who are in the tri-state area, ideally, but also, in the US, and maybe want to continue working and do our kind of Master of Science curriculum, we have a part-time program, an option you can apply for, which is the full-time program goes over 2 semesters, 9.5 months. The part-time program goes over 2 academic years, basically 5 semesters, and you can scatter out those classes in a way that would work with a working person's schedule for the most part. So offering classes that meet in the evenings, classes that maybe sometimes meet on weekends, and allow you to have a career and also do that degree while you don't stop working, basically. We also have an MS in data journalism, which is a program that is 3 semesters long, a bit longer than our 2-semester typical MS program, but builds foundational reporting skills as well as really strong data analysis skills, data scraping skills, data visualization skills. So it's very reporting based, but has a lot of great skills you would build in the data realm. So you could do a lot of great reporting, but also great data analysis and data presentation on the job, which is something that a lot of newsrooms may find very valuable these days. There's a lot of interest in people who can make sense of data and tell compelling stories with data. And then we also have a dual MS in journalism and computer science, which is a 2 academic year program, both in our school, the journalism school, and also in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences computer science program. So you earn 2 MS degrees. It's a graduate level MS and, a graduate level computer science course. So you are expected to be very fluent in computer science and have advanced knowledge of that. And it's for people who generally want to build tools and software and programs that can help journalists do what they do better, and also help create ways that consumers can find news and understand news through more interesting, engaging platforms as well. So it's a lot of R&D, research and development type of work in the world of creating new, again, like tools for journalists and journalism consumption. And then we also have a Master of Arts program, which I know some people have some confusion about between that and the Master of Science. I know some other schools out there maybe only have one program or another, an MS program only or an MA program only, and we have both. One thing to think about is the Master of Arts program is for people who generally have experience in journalism and can already do the essentials of journalism, understand how to do complex reporting, complex storytelling, and want to go more deep and do more ambitious work in journalism in one of 4 concentration areas, and those are arts and culture, business and economics, politics, or science. So MA applicants would choose one of those concentrations and work very deeply with great journalists in those fields to do more ambitious, more kind of complicated kind of storytelling in one of those subject areas. And then finally, we have the PhD in communications, which is a very different type of program. As I mentioned, all of our master's programs are no more than 2 academic years, and most are just 1 academic year. But the PhD in communications, runs, around, 6 to 8 years generally, and is for people who really want to pursue academic pursuits as professors or researchers doing work in communications through kind of interdisciplinary lens, doing historical or sociological or a mix of different methodologies to understand issues related to media and communications and their impact on society. So that in a nutshell are all the programs. So now we're going to do some scenarios where I'm going to invite you to put in the chat if you have any guesses on the programs that you think are the best fits for these different people with their different interests and goals. And then we'll kind of see if that lines up with what we're thinking in our office on what these programs are best suited for. So here we go. So what program is the right fit for me? We're going to do some drills on this and then hopefully get a better sense through that. So here's scenario one. So this is a person that says, I have been working as an assistant campus editor at my college newspaper this year. As I complete my bachelor's degree in the spring, I know that after I graduate from school, I want to continue to gain deeper professional skills in a variety of areas of journalism, including climate reporting, maybe podcasting, photography, and long form writing. Which program is the right fit for me? Anybody want to put a guess in the chat about what they think in terms of the program? Is it MA, MS, anything that you think would make sense for this person? Let's see what you got here. Yes, I see MS. I see MS. So yes, you're on the right path. MS. Exactly. So this person has done some journalism, obviously, in college. They're graduating in time to, go to grad school right after that. And they don't kind of specify a specific area that they want to go specifically only deep into. So they have podcasting, reporting, photography, long form writing. So as I mentioned at the outset, the MS program has classes and mentorship available in all those areas. So you can explore a wide range of things in the MS program, or you can go deeper into one of or more of those areas if you want to, or get a sense of, how to do professional work in a variety of them. So MS program, very good fit for this particular case. So yes, answer is MS program. I always forget to have a slide after that that has the actual answer on it. And now we'll go to scenario two. So this person says, I've been working as a social studies middle school teacher, and although I've never actually practiced journalism before, I now want to make a career change to become a reporter and who does storytelling, a storyteller, who focuses on education as well as on other topics such as politics, the economy, data, sports, and culture. What program is the right fit for this person? Anybody want to put a guess in the chat again? Take a look here. All right. So this person again had MSMA. Okay, I see MA a couple people. I see MS. So the answer or the kind of things, the clues to look at here is this person has never practiced journalism before. So that likely means they would not be eligible yet for the MA program, which does presume that you've done journalism and know how to do kind of essential deep reporting. So MA is probably not the right fit. So MS for this person, again, is the right fit. So it's another MS person. And the reason we say that is, again, that this person has never practiced journalism, which is not any reason to rule out applying to the MS program. If you are totally new to journalism, if you're in this session right now and you've been working in other professions, or if you have studied other things that are not journalism related, but you want to go into journalism now, MS program is totally a great fit for you because it does build the essential skills any journalist should have, even if you're totally fresh to the profession. So if you've done journalism before, that's great. But if you haven't, if you've been a teacher like this person was, or if you've been working in finance or nonprofit work or medicine or whatever it might be, or you're just finishing school but you majored in classics or in chemistry or economics, totally cool to apply to the MS program because it doesn't require you to have done journalism before and will build the foundational skills from scratch in that program. So that's the right fit for this person. And this person in their scenario did say they wanted to explore a lot of different things, whether it was education reporting, doing other data work, other types of political storytelling. That all, again, lives in the MS program. So you can get a wide range of training in the MS program. And you don't need to have already done journalism before to be a good fit for it. So now we're off to the next scenario. So this person says that I've become aware of corruption and negligence taking place in some businesses and some government offices in my community, and now I feel deeply compelled to focus on learning the reporting techniques to uncover wrongdoing and to hold institutions and individuals accountable for, whatever bad behavior they've been up to, whether it's at the institutional or individual level. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody want to put guesses in the chat for this person? Of those options. Specialization in investigative journalism, Stabile. Yes. So yes, I would say in this scenario, and of course, if this person decided that they wanted to explore a wide range of things in addition to that, they could still do it in the MS program. But I would say based on what they're saying, the answer is the Master of Science, Stabile Investigative Specialization, because they really seem to show an overall commitment in doing that kind of investigating of wrongdoing, exploring techniques to do that more strongly. So the MS Investigative Specialization seems like it's the right fit based on that bit of information they've given us. And again, that program, like the MS broader program, does not require that you have done investigative journalism before or journalism before altogether. So this person, even if they've never done journalism before, but they make a good case in their application about why they really want to go down this route and really focus on building this skill set, could make a good case for the Stabile investigative specialization. And you might be wondering, what does Stabile mean? Stabile is the name of one of the big benefactors who helped found this program and gave a lot of support to it, named Tony Stabile. So when you see that name Stabile on our website or in other sessions, that indicates that this is the investigative specialization that Tony Stabile was very much a big supporter of, and that's why her name is attached to it when you see that. And now another scenario says, I am strongly interested in writing about food and music, and I want to learn to skillfully write about cultural topics. I've majored in English, but I've not done any reporting or journalistic writing just yet. I'm looking at the MA Arts and Culture concentration in the MA program and the MS as options. Which program is the right fit for me? Does anyone want to put a guess in the chat for this one? Let's see. Anyone there? MA? Okay. I see an MA, I see an MS, I see a couple MSs, I see another MA. All right, so we have some different opinions, but I guess going back to what we had talked about before in terms of MA versus MS, the thing to look at in this person's background is that they've never done reporting or journalistic writing before. So that's no problem for applying to the good journalism school, but if you've not ever kind of taken a stab at journalism, you don't have any clips that show you've done reporting, you haven't really talked to strangers to do, kind of shoe leather reporting or any type of that, then the MS program is really the right fit for you because this person loves arts and culture journalism. That's great. And we do have a lot of great classes in the MS program. But if they've not done any kind of journalism before, then the MS should definitely be the right fit. The great thing is, even though as the MS I've mentioned doesn't have majors that you need to like declare as you do in the MA program, you can still do a lot of great classwork and a lot of great reporting in the arts and culture world. So you can report on food, you can report on music, other cultural topics in the MS program by choosing courses and projects that really fit that area if you want to. Now, if this person said that they've been, working as a journalist for several years and, really want to get into food and music reporting, then I think in that scenario we would say MA Arts and Culture. But for this one, Master of Science, based on the fact they've never done the reporting before. Now, another scenario, a little different, but this person says that I'm strongly interested in climate and environmental issues, which a lot of people are these days, and I want to learn how to tell more ambitious and complex stories about those topics. I've worked as a journalist for 2 years, focused more on business issues in my city, but now I want to do more ambitious science reporting, even though I'm new to that particular beat. I'm looking at the MS and the MA science concentration. What program is the right fit for me? In this case, if people have an idea of what they would suggest for them. MA, MA, MA. Yes, I see a lot of MAs here. So yes, people are on the right path. Based on this person's background, yes, the MA should be the right fit because they say they've worked as a journalist for 2 years, which means that they've done obviously a good amount of reporting, writing. If they've worked in other mediums, maybe audio or visual reporting, but they know the essentials of reporting and storytelling already, which is something we'll look for the MA. You notice that this person says that they've focused more on business issues, so they've not done a lot of science or climate reporting yet. That is not a problem for MA applicants if you are someone who's experienced in journalism and want to explore a new subject matter. So there's no prerequisite for the MA that you've already had to have done, say, for instance, science reporting to be a good science concentration applicant. Similarly, if you've never done business reporting and you want to apply to the MA business concentration, that's great too. Even if you've never done business reporting too, as long as you've done reporting and know the essentials of journalism, you don't need to show a background in the concentration area to be a good candidate for that. We just want to know that you have the essential skills already in journalism because we start from a bit more of an advanced level in the MA program. So yes, MA is the right answer, MA science concentration for this case. And then here's another scenario. This person says that I was a classics major in college who worked at my campus newspaper, and though I have no computer science training, I am very interested in learning how to report and tell compelling data-related stories. As I see so much interesting data out there related to the economy, the environment, and the sports world, and I might want to, tell stories about a lot of those different data sets. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody want to give a shot on that? MS Data, MS Data. See when someone's saying MS. So in this case, I would say based on what they're saying that they're really focused on data, that I would say MS in data journalism. So if you said that, that's likely the right case. Although there's always an asterisk for these cases. So depending on if somebody told us later that they have like 10 other interests and data is one of them, I might say maybe the MS broader program is the right fit. But based on the fact this person is very interested in learning how to tell data related stories and looking at data in different realms, I would say based on this nugget of information that they're probably best suited for the MS in data journalism. This person noted that they've majored in classics. They never have done computer science work. That's not a problem for the MS in Data Journalism program. So keep in mind if you're thinking about that program that it doesn't require you to have had done data work before at all or majoring in anything related to data or computation. We will build your data analysis, scraping, coding skills from scratch in the MS in Data Journalism. So again, don't feel inhibited if you have never done that yet. But if you really want to get into data journalism and data reporting, then I would say the data journalism program could be a great fit. And people shouldn't feel discouraged if it's new to them, if they really know that that's where they want to spend a lot of their time at the school looking at data. And as this person mentioned, you can look at all sorts of different types of data. It doesn't require you to go into one area of data only. You can look at environmental data, whether it's like emissions data, climate data, economic data, business data, sports data about, various, scoring in different, fields of sports or the investment of, money into different realms of sports. You could look at a lot of different data and tell stories with it. So if that's your passion, I would say this is the MS in data journalism for you in terms of what the program fit would be. And now a slightly similar, but a little different kind of scenario, another one kind of touching on some computation. This person says that I was a computer science and statistics double major in college, and though I've never practiced journalism before, I want to explore innovative new ways to use computational methods to help newsrooms gather information and tell stories more effectively. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody, based on the kind of ones we discussed earlier, would you suggest this person look into? Dual. So I see the dual MS in computer science and journalism. Yes, that would likely be the right fit because this person has the background. So that program, oops, I went a little too far. That program has a requirement that you have background to do advanced work in computer science, which means that you should have majored or minored likely in computer science or statistics, or have already worked professionally in the realm of computer science and have done it on the job. And this person also wants to build tools and software and things that newsrooms can use. So it's a little different focus of what their goals are from the data journalism program, which is likely to use data as a reporting tool and doing a lot of reporting with data. This person wants to build, potential, software and tools, which is what the dual MS program is really built to do. So this person would likely be best served for the dual MS in journalism and computer science. So good answers on that. And now we're getting to the last few. This person says, I currently work at a marketing agency in Brooklyn, and I want to gain the professional skills to pursue a tech reporting career down the road. And I also want to keep working while I study. Which program is the right fit for me? Anybody want to take a guess on that one? Part-time MS, part-time. Exactly. So part-time MS is the right fit if that person wants to keep working. Keep in mind for our MS and our MA programs that are full-time, very little time to do work on the side. They're very intensive, as I mentioned, because they are very short in the sense that most are just one academic year. 3 semesters usually maximum. So you're doing a lot of reporting, storytelling. You're going all over the city all the time. You're turning in different stories on different deadlines depending on the week. So you're very busy, which means that you're probably not going to be able to do other work on the side if you're in a full-time program. But the part-time program, as I mentioned, is going to be suited for people who want to continue working or for whatever reason want to slow down the pace of their education a bit and be able to kind of do other things on the side and take this kind of curriculum over a longer period of time and have a little bit more spacing out of it. People should also, if you're an international applicant, keep in mind that it's very unlikely that international students will be able to do the part-time program because they need to be here either as usually as a U.S. citizen or permanent resident or someone with a work visa already. So people who have to apply for student visas would not be able to do the part-time program and be in student status for that. And you won't be able to apply for, say, a work visa and a student visa at the same time. So generally for international students, the full-time programs are really the ones to focus on. But if you are U.S. citizen or permanent resident and you want to potentially keep a job you're already in, or you want to locate yourself into New York and get a job and do the part-time program, then that could be the right course of action for you. Part-time, Master of Science, there we go. And then a couple more scenarios. This person says that I have made several short video stories for an undergraduate class, and now I know that I want to continue telling stories about individuals and social issues through compelling reporting-based documentaries. Which program is the right fit for me? Let's see if that one. has any answers. Documentary, documentary. Yes, I would say based on what this person is saying, the MS in documentary is probably going to be the right fit for them because they say that they really want to continue telling stories in a documentary format and do this through reporting-based documentaries, which is what we specialize here at the school. So people should, yeah, consider that specialization in that case, because again, that's their main area of focus. And keep in mind the reporting base is a key thing because our documentary faculty are amazing. They will train you in terms of how to do all the camera work, the aesthetics of documentary storytelling, the audio, the visual, the editing, all of that, and the storytelling. But it's going to have a lot of reportage, so verifying facts, having a lot of corroboration for the things you're reporting on, a lot of background you're going to incorporate. So it's going to give you that kind of reporting skill set as well as a documentary skill set in that program. And this person in the scenario said that they already made some videos in their undergrad. That's great, and we definitely have a lot of people come to the documentary program who have done a bit of documentary, maybe short filmmaking in their background, but it doesn't require that. So if you are totally new to documentaries, but you know that's really what you want to go into, you can feel welcome to apply to the documentary specialization as long as you tell us, again, why you want to really focus your time at Columbia in that area of skill building and why you want to really produce a documentary film as your capstone, as opposed to having some, video training, but explore other areas of journalism. So if that's your core passion, explain that to us if you are applying and you've never done doc before. And now another scenario that's a little different. This person says, I've made several short videos for an undergraduate class, and now I know I want to continue learning how to make excellent short video docs. But I also want to explore podcasting, data reporting, and long form writing, as I am open to working in many areas of the profession in the future. What program is the right fit for me? Does anyone have any thoughts about this one? Let's see. MS. Okay, I see a couple of MSs. That is likely the right fit. So we're taking off the specialization here, mainly because they say they want to continue to learn about documentary, short filmmaking, but they also want to look at other things, podcasting, data reporting, long form writing, and they're open to working in other areas of profession. So they're not super invested yet in like fully going into the doc world. They don't necessarily know that's exactly where they want to spend all of their time. So there's no problem with that. The MS Broader program has a lot of great options for this person because there are going to be classes in short doc storytelling where you don't go as far and as deep as you do in the documentary specialization, but you can create some really stellar shorter documentaries, get all the skill sets to do video work with the camera work, editing, audio, all that stuff. But you can also explore those other areas this person was interested in, long form, audio, data work, all of that. You can do it all in the MS program in the broader curriculum. So, and you're not committed to one path or another in the MS. So I would say this person likely would be best suited for that program. And then we have people that ask this kind of question all the time. So I'm going to put it out there in this scenario. I'm interested in applying to the MS to build investigative specialization, but I think I also want to be considered for the MS documentary specialization and maybe also for the MS in data journalism. Which program is the right fit for me? And like a little bit of a follow-up is, should I apply to all of them? I would say the answer to the last question is no. We don't want you to apply to several programs at once. But in terms of what program do you think would be the right fit for this person, you want to put a guess in the chat. Anybody there? Okay, so I see a couple MSs there. The answer is yes, likely, very likely MS. If you have like three things you want to do very strongly, I would say that the MS Broader program, because of what we said about the last scenario, is going to be the right fit because it's a big umbrella, big tent program with a lot of training. So you can get a taste of investigative reporting in the MS Broader program. You can get documentary, short filmmaking training in the MS Broader program, and you can explore data at a less intense level in the MS Broader program. So if you have a lot of interest, just apply to the Broader MS if you're not fully committed. It wouldn't look good in terms of application if for some reason you wanted to apply and say, like, I really want to apply to investigative specialization. It's my real passion. But also, I think my other real passion is this whole other thing. It seems like maybe you're not quite sure yet then. So I would say if you're not quite sure, that's cool. MS Broader program is great. But it would definitely make us question whether an investigative application would be the best fit if you are saying you want to do three other things at the same time, because you do need to make a choice if you are applying to a specialization to really go deep into one area. So if you're not fully kind of on that path, you're not fully committed to that, then I would say no problem, apply to the broader MS, but don't feel like you need to declare a specialization or a major when you apply to our school. You can totally apply to the MS broader program and keep your options open and explore a lot of different things there. So I would say in this case, which is very common, people ask this. I would say the MS broader program again is the best fit if you're undecided and want to have that freedom to go and explore a lot of different areas of journalism. And then another scenario, I have never been a journalist. I don't want to become a journalist, but I am seeking a permanent career as an academic. And through a mix of disciplinary approaches like history, sociology, and other areas, I'm interested in researching the ways that media have impacted the growth of social movements around the world. Which program is the right fit for me? Anybody want to put a guess out for this person? Let's see what we got there. PhD, exactly. So yes, it's very different because this person does not want to become a journalist. They haven't worked in journalism, and they want to become an academic, and they want to do kind of an interdisciplinary course of study, looking at media and communications and their impact using such disciplines as history and sociology. So that is generally a very good potential fit for the PhD program we have here because it is very interdisciplinary, and it also has very strong areas of strength in history and sociology. And it is a program that is not for people who want to launch more advanced careers as journalists. So a PhD from our school isn't like a capstone degree in the profession. So you don't become like the top editor at the New York Times or the Washington Post or the BBC because you have a PhD. It's not a PhD in journalism, as you might have seen. It's a PhD in communications, which means that, again, it's for people who want to seek academic careers. One thing to make a note of, in this scenario, this person said they've never worked in journalism, which is totally fine for the PhD applications. But even if they said that they have been a journalist before, that's fine. If you've worked in journalism and you want to make a pivot and become an academic, that's happened in the past. So again, it doesn't mean that you have to come from only an academic background to be a good candidate for the PhD program, but it means that if you are applying to the PhD program, you show us in your, your application about why you want to make a move into an academic type of career and the kind of research questions that you're looking to explore through the program. We'll talk more about this in the application tips session next week, but for the thinking about PhD, if anyone in the session is thinking about that, the main thing to think about is like making a case for the kind of research you want to do and how it would fit with the expertise of our particular PhD faculty, which number 3 right now. There's 3 faculty members who work in that field. So it's a little bit of a different type of way of applying to from our master's programs. But again, it's a kind of a fit for what kind of research you want to do and whether we can support that with the people that we have here and their particular expertise. So again, PhD in communications for this person. And then finally, this person says, I would like to become a communications executive and branding consultant, and I want to gain a doctoral credential to get a great job in the field of strategic brand communications. Which program is the right fit for me? Does anybody want to try this? It might be a trick question. I'm just going to put that out there. Anybody want to put that in? Yes, yes, I think you got, it's a trick question. Actually, someone's in PhD program. MS. I would say the tricky question is, I would say none of the programs is the right fit. So this is a bit of yeah, it's a little unfair. But because this person wants to get a doctoral degree credential to get a great job in strategic brand communications, I would say this is not the right school for them overall. I would say that there's probably other schools out there that would support that. There are lots of great programs in the US and in other countries that have maybe more of a business-related communications curriculum if you want to learn how to do direct marketing or strategic comms or crisis communications for some sort of group, and you want to get like a doctoral degree or an advanced degree to launch more of a professional business career. I would say look at some other programs out there because our program, our PhD program especially, as you might have gotten the sense, it's very academic in sense it's historical, it's sociological, it's looking at questions about how media has changed or influenced people and societies. It's not a kind of a degree that teaches you how to do better branding and things like that. So if you are thinking of getting a degree to better further kind of a comms career, I would say it's unlikely the PhD in communications program would be the fit for you at our school. But look at other schools, take the time to do that research. But in terms of like taking the time to build an application, I would say if you are thinking of that kind of goal, look at some other programs out there. And there's definitely ones out there in the east coast of the US, in other parts of the US, and in other countries, of course, too. So now I'm going to do a quick lightning round before we take questions from you about the programs. That I've addressed a few of these already, but I'll just go over them really fast because we get them so often. So one of the big questions we get is, and I answered this earlier, can I apply to multiple Columbia journalism degree programs at once, like in one cycle? Answer is no. So you should really think about it based on what we're talking about today, which program is the right fit for you. And you can definitely continue to review some of our webinars we held. We have a library on YouTube called Columbia Admissions YouTube page where you can look at particular program webinars that talk about each program in more detail than I can today with our faculty, some alumni, to get a better sense on what you would do curricularly and kind of the outcomes you might have from those programs. So think about it still. There's still over a month to get your application in and decide which one is the best fit. Because again, what we look for overall is somebody who knows what program and is confident about it, about which program is the right fit for them. So applying to three things or two things at once would look like you're not quite sure yet. So definitely think about it and apply to only one program: MS in data journalism, MS documentary program, MA program, PhD program, whatever it is. But apply to that one program and make a really good case about why you think, based on this conversation we're having today and other things you review online or when talking to other people, what makes you think that you are a good fit for that particular type of program. Now, here's another question, and we kind of answered this earlier too, which is, do I need to declare an area of study in the MS program, like audio, broadcast, magazine, photojournalism, sports reporting? So as I said at the outset, no. If you're applying to the broader MS program, aside from the two specializations, documentary and investigative, you can you just apply to the MS program. You can tell us in your essays if you really are interested in some other areas of journalism under that. So if you love sports reporting, tell us that. Or if you love photojournalism, or if you're interested in doing long form magazine work, you can tell us about that. But you're going to see in the application, there's no box to indicate that I'm majoring in the sports part or the broadcast part. That's not required, and you can go to the program and decide to study as deeply as you like in those areas because we'll have great faculty and courses to help you, better, get clips and training in those areas. So again, there's nowhere you need to indicate that you're going to do that particular pathway through the program. Question we get often is, can I start the program in the spring rather than the fall? So the answer to that is a no. We do have all our programs most of them begin in August. A few start right after Labor Day in September. So that's like the fall semester, basically. They all start in the fall semester, and they are very much designed to kind of go through to go through a curriculum that builds over the fall and spring and longer if it's a longer program. So you can't kind of start halfway through in the way that our curriculum is designed. So we do not have a spring entrance for our programs. A question we get sometimes about the names, the nomenclature for these degrees is the MS a scientific degree and is the MA an artistics or arts kind of related one? The answer is not really. So that's something that sometimes people get a little confused about, and I can understand because it's Master of Science, Master of Arts. But the MS program people should think about as more of a professional skills degree. So it's not, again, scientific degree. You're not going to learn, essential chemistry and astronomy in that degree program, but you will learn all the essential skills: reporting, storytelling, multimedia methodologies, ways to understand ethics and legal issues related to the profession, some investigative skills, basics like that. So it's kind of a professional degree in the sense that it's going to give you all the great skills you'll need to have to thrive in journalism. So that's what MS means at our school. So again, not a scientific degree. If you haven't studied science before, if you don't want to study science, it doesn't really mean anything. So don't feel discouraged or like you need to apply to a different program because you don't have a science interest. But Master of Sciences means professional type of degree at Columbia. And the MA program, while it's not an artistic degree, Master of Arts is that program, as I mentioned, that is a bit more for advanced journalists who want to go deeper into a subject area. So it kind of is a bit of a hybrid of a journalistic kind of skill-based degree as well as a academic degree. So you get some training in some academic areas, understandings of some academic disciplines in the MA program. So for that reason, it's called Master of Arts program. But again, it's not an arts-focused degree necessarily. If you're in the arts and culture concentration, you might study arts a bit more strongly, but it's not like an artistic degree in the way that we understand that. A question that we get sometimes that I answered already too, so I kind of have given this one away. Is the PhD a capstone professional degree for advanced journalists? Answer to that again is no. It is not something that you would want to seek out in order to kind of get a better job in your newsroom or a new type of job in your newsroom at a higher level, like the big producer, the big editor, the managing editor, whatever that is. That's not what the PhD is built to give you skills, and it's really, again, an academic career path that you're seeking to go on with the PhD degree. Question I answered again. Can I work while I'm in the full-time programs? Answer is pretty much an adamant no in terms of like you just won't have time for it. We won't force people not to work. If you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you can try, but we do not advise it. We very much would say just focus on your studies. It's a short program. You need to really focus to do the reporting well, to get the clips that are going to be really impressive. So focus on that. If you are an international student at our school, which is, not uncommon, we have about half our class international, you're not able to work anyway because on student visas, you will not be able to work while you're in student status. So the answer is basically no for almost everybody, but definitely a definitive no for international students in the full-time programs. A question, can I transfer credits from another school towards a master's program at Columbia, or at Columbia Journalism School? The answer is no. So if you've taken a journalism course undergrad, or maybe had a course that you've taken at a grad level, or if you're in another MS or MA program in some other journalism school, and for some reason you want to transfer over here, we don't do like a transfer where you can just, have some credits from that program carry over. So you need to apply fresh to our school. We'd be happy to consider people who have studied journalism already at someplace else, but you would basically do the full curriculum because it's a very, again, short program. It's very much built to have very specific skills that are, trained by our particular faculty. So we don't transfer credits for the master's programs here. And then one last page. Do I need to have journalism experience to be considered for the MS degree? Again, as I mentioned earlier, no. It's great if you do have some, whether you've worked in college at the student paper or radio station or made videos there in a broadcast class. But if you haven't done it at all, again, you can definitely be a good candidate for the MS degree with some or no journalism experience. We just look for people who really want to do this type of degree program. As I mentioned, it's fast-paced, it's very hands-on, it's very much professional skill building. So you're really out in New York reporting and learning by doing. So if that excites you, whether you've done journalism before or if you're totally new to it, you can apply to the MS degree, and you could feel like if you make a good case for that, you could be a strong candidate for the MS degree. Follow-up question, do I need to have journalism experience to be considered for the MA, the Master of Arts? As I mentioned earlier, yes, you do need to have journalism experience. And it says on the website like 3 to 15 years of experience. That's something that we put out there, but it's not set in stone. So we do have people sometimes who have fewer than 3 years of experience who come into the MA program. What we look for in most cases is less the number of years exactly, but more the work you can show in your application. So for the MA, if you have some deeply reported, complex stories that you've already done, whether it's for professional outlets or for like campus publications, you might be a good candidate for the MA. We want to see that you can do that work already. And if you can show that through your work samples, then you might be able to make a good case for the MA, even if you've been out fewer than 3 years working in the world of journalism. MS program for the application. We'll talk about this more in application tips. You don't even have to have any professional journalism, materials to show us to apply. We'll look for other types of contexts for work if you are coming to journalism from from a different type of background. But for the MA, we do want to see journalistic clips and samples that show that you've done kind of some complex work already in the field. A question for people applying for the PhD, do I need to have a master's degree already to be considered for the PhD in communications? Answer is no. Some people do have a master's degree in communications or another field who come into the PhD program, but it's not required. We do have people who have just gotten their bachelor's or its equivalent so far. That's fine. Some of them come very, soon out of finishing their bachelor's degree if they have a really interesting, research proposal, a good understanding of what our program offers, and a good sense of what, makes this program that we offer and our faculty good fits for their interests, they can apply for this program. So it's not required to have a master's degree. It's not something we would say you need to go out and get just to have a better case to apply. I would say you don't need it. So don't feel like if you are really passionate about working with our faculty in our PhD kind of curriculum, just to apply for it right away. If you don't have a master's degree, go for it. Don't feel like you need to wait to get one to be a good candidate for the program. A question that I think I addressed before, but we'll repeat it just in case. Do I need to already have computational skills to be considered for the MS in data journalism? Answer is no. You can definitely come into the program with some skills in computation or data. That's great. Some people definitely do. But if you are, again, learning from the get-go, from scratch, that's fine. The MS data journalism will start from zero and build you up with computational methods that you can understand, even if you've never studied computer science or data science or anything like that. So don't feel, again, discouraged if you are really interested in doing this program but haven't done data work before. And then the follow-up that we always have is, do I need to have computational skills to be considered for the dual MS in computer science and journalism? Answer to that, as we've said before, is yes, because it is a master's degree in journalism and also a master's degree in computer science at Columbia University, which is a very advanced program in computer science at the graduate level already at Columbia, which is something that you really need to show us that you can do. So that means you've majored, minored in computer science, worked in the field, or done things like in statistics or linear algebra that shows you can really hit the ground running on the computational side. So again, if you have never done it before, computer science, I would say apply to our MS program potentially, or our MS in data journalism program, depending on your goals. We're happy to have you learn some essential journalism and computational skills in those programs. But if you have no essential journalism, I'm sorry, no essential computer science skills at all, and you want to apply to Columbia, do not apply to the dual MS, because we will be looking for that. But definitely consider our MS broader program or the data degree. A good question we get very often is, how do dual degrees work with the MS program at Columbia Journalism School and with degrees at other Columbia schools? So there's one exception, and that is the dual MS in journalism and computer science, which I just talked about. In that case, if you're interested in that program, if you're eligible for that type of program and want to do it, apply with one application. You just apply once for the dual degree program through our application system. It's one of the degree programs you can indicate in our app. So I want to be, considered for the dual MS in journalism and computer science, and then you apply once. And if you're admitted to that program, then you're admitted to both the computer science and the MS at the journalism school, and it's all set. That's the one exception. For every other dual degree that we have with other schools, and there's not too many of them, but if I remember them right, we have a dual MS and MIA with the School of International Public Affairs, a dual MS and JD with the law school, a dual MS and MBA with the business school at Columbia, and a dual MS and MA in religion with the Columbia Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. So for any of those scenarios, if you're applying to them, you apply totally separately. You apply to our school with our requirements and deadlines, and you apply to that other program with their deadlines and requirements totally separately. You have to do, whatever they're looking for and what we look for, apply to both. And then if you're admitted to both schools, then our school and that other school will work together to kind of sequence out your education. So you're able to take our degree either to start or maybe after you do a year at the other school, and are able to then fulfill the requirements for both. And some of our credits and courses count towards some of the requirements for the other programs. You shave off some time, shave off some tuition money by doing them in the dual format. But you do need to apply totally separately to both schools, and both schools determine who's admitted based on their own criteria. So that's how that would work for the dual MS with the other Columbia schools. And if you've gone to our website or are exploring it and might come across this later, you might be wondering, how does the dual degree with the MS program at our school and the MS at Sciences Po, which is a program in Paris, work? So that's a slightly different type of dual degree program. So we're really happy to have this collaboration with Sciences Po, which is a great school in Paris that offers a really great journalism degree as well. What happens for that is, if you are admitted to our MS program and you come to our school and you're admitted, you enroll, and you're here in the fall semester. So currently our MS students have this opportunity coming up for them to potentially apply for. You can apply for this dual degree program as a current student at Columbia to do another master's at Sciences Po the year after you graduate from Columbia. And that would mean that you would do two schools and two MS degrees, earn them both in 2 years' time. The kind of advantage of that is, like, Sciences Po traditionally has a master's degree that you earn in 2 years. So instead of doing 2 more years at Sciences Po, some of our credits and kind of the work you do here count towards kind of taking off 1 year for Sciences Po. So you get another master's in 1 year at Sciences Po. 2 years, but 2 degrees, two schools is how that works. But you won't apply for this now. So if you're looking on our application for admission and looking for the box to mark, I want to be considered for the dual degree with Sciences Po, it's not there yet. You need to first be admitted to the MS program, come to our school, and then in the fall decide if you want to apply for this opportunity. And then if you're admitted to that, then you can join the Sciences Po class the next year, do that degree in the next academic year, and then have two really great degrees from two amazing world-class schools, Columbia and Sciences Po, with that dual degree program. A question we get often too is, are there online degrees and classes available at Columbia Journalism School? The answer is no. So it's a very kind of definitive answer. I hate to be very short with the answer, but there's no real exception. So we do not have online classes for the MS or MA programs. We don't have any remote learning for those kind of courses. We don't have remote learning or online classes for the PhD. So people thinking of these programs should definitely imagine that they'll be in New York, hopefully living not too far from the Columbia campus, if you are really thinking of applying to these programs. Whether the master's program or the doctoral program, you will need to be in New York if you're admitted and you choose to come. So that's something to plan ahead for. But those are just things to think about as you are considering the programs at Columbia. And just to reiterate the deadlines, and then I'll take some questions from people. The deadlines, as I mentioned, are coming up, but I'm really glad that we're having this encore session right now about where to begin because I know a lot of you, as I said, may be just starting exploring our programs, deciding to apply to grad school now, a little later into the fall. That's totally normal. A lot of people do submit their applications, right in the last few days and weeks before the deadlines come. So if you're still getting this together, plenty of time. There's over a month still to get your application materials together. Application tips webinar coming up will give you a little bit more guidance on the nitty gritty of that, as I said too. But keep in mind, December 15th is when the MS applications are due, the MS in data journalism applications are due, and the PhD in communications application is due. So just keep that in mind, a little over a month. The things you'll need to get by that point are your essays, your transcripts, your work samples. If you are applying for the PhD, the GRE tests, get that done, things like that. And you also will have a little bit more time for your recommendation letters. So if you were kind of like, oh, I'm still, starting my application, I still need to ask 3 people to do recommendation letters. There's still a little bit more time for them to submit their letters. So you'll need to submit your application itself by December 15th, but they will have until January 10th to submit their letters. So keep that in mind if you're kind of a little stressed out that maybe they're going to need a little bit more time to get those letters in since it's a little later in the fall now to get that ball rolling. Still time for that, but you need to submit your materials, your application by December 15th. For January 5th, keep in mind that's when the MA application is due. So there's a little more time for MA applicants to get that application in after the New Year's. And keep in mind too that the recommenders will have till January 10th to get their letters in also for MA. And then finally, if you are applying to the dual MS in journalism and computer science, you have a little bit longer. You have basically another month basically to get your application in for that program. So that's the one program that has a bit of an outlying, deadline, January 15th for that. So keep that in mind as well. And we'll talk about this more in another session, but if you are going to apply for financial aid, the scholarship app is open now. Materials for that will be due around December 1st. So keep in mind that it's actually before the applications are due themselves. So please try to get those materials in, and we'll have a webinar and some other sessions coming up in the next weeks where we're going to have some more guidance about that. So if you have questions about that process, keep those on hold, but we'll get to those as well. So just keep in mind there's still a good amount of time to get things together based on this chat, I hope. So now what I'll do is I will stop my share screen and I'll take a little time for questions you want to ask me in the chat. So please put those in the chat. Keeping in mind, I'm not going to be able to talk more about funding today or talking about, application materials as much, but about the right fit or anything else about the programs. Happy to answer that in this particular session. I see, yes, a question about the application tips webinar. Let me just get the link for that real quick, and I will put that in the chat so people can sign up for that. One moment. Here we go. So that'll be on the 19th of December. You can also go to our website, our YouTube page as well, for people who are wanting to kind of revisit some of the things we've done. So this is the link for I sent that directly to somebody. Everyone here, 1 second. So this is the link to sign up for the application tips webinar. But luckily, we also recorded our earlier application tips webinar, which is in September. You can find that on our YouTube page, which I'll share the link for a little later too, and revisit that as well as some of the program-specific webinars we held earlier in the fall. So you can definitely get a little bit more guidance, even though we kind of finished our cycle of doing those live. There'll be ways to review that. And those are pretty in-depth. They're like hour-long webinars with a lot of information about the degrees and what they offer. So if you're still, based on what I talked about now, still a little curious about learning more, you can definitely get that from those longer webinars. Question about webinars about financial aid. That's going to be finalized, the dates for that in the next day or two. So we'll be sending out invitations for that. We don't have that quite yet, but keep a hold on that, and we'll have a few sessions coming up where you can get a better sense on the application for a scholarship aid and what goes into that. Question I see here about whether you can keep your 9-to-5 job in the part-time MS program. Answer is very likely if you are thinking of a 9-to-5 job in the New York area. So yeah, it's a program where, you will need to come into campus. So it's not, again, a remote part-time program. So if you're able to get to Columbia's campus or can plan ahead for that, and you have a job that is kind of to 9-to-5 in New York City or maybe New Jersey or areas where you're able to commute into the campus in the evenings or on weekdays and weekends, then you should be probably well suited for the part-time program. The part-time program does have classes that are available, as I mentioned, after traditional work hours for like 6 to 9, 6 to 8, things like that. But you're not fully, obliged to only do evening courses if you're a part-time student. If you want to take courses that meet in the daytime during, afternoons or mornings at our school, you're not prohibited from taking them based on our school policy. So you're welcome to take them. It will just depend on your workplace's flexibility to do that. So sometimes we do have students who are, working in an office, but they really want to take a class that we offer that's only offered at like, say, 11 a.m. on a Thursday, and they're able to work that out with their manager to do that. So that happens sometimes too. But yes, if you need to have a strict 9 to 5, schedule, we'll have classes available you can take to fulfill your master's degree in the part-time format for that. So that's just something to think about for people thinking about the part-time program. Um, let's see. There's a person who says, I'm in investigative journalism, 10 years working in the career and want to improve their skills further. They're wondering if the MA or the MS investigative specialization is a better fit. Likely, if you've been working for a decade in journalism already, in investigative journalism, I would say that it's unlikely that the MS Stabile program would probably be the best fit because it's going to definitely give you good foundational skills in investigative reporting. But if you've done that for 10 years, you're probably likely better suited for the MA program. And you could choose which specialization, I'm sorry, which subject area you want to get into in the MA, whether it's politics, business, science, or arts and culture. But the thing there is that it will assume you already know all those essential skills that an investigative journalist would have and will let you go deeper and more ambitious in your work. So I'd say the MA would likely be the best fit, and you could definitely explore which concentration makes sense for you. I would say that if you want to do investigative work as a student at the school, you can do investigative work in the MA program too. So for example, if you're in the science concentration, you want to do an investigative story about climate or environmental or medical issues, you could do that through the MA program. So you can definitely continue investigative storytelling and method building in the MA program. But I'd say if you've been working a decade already in investigative journalism, I would say probably consider the MA as the best fit. But you can talk to our team about that if you have any further questions about that. Question about um, Oh, a question, and we'll talk about this more in application tips about what we look for in a strong application. That's definitely what that webinar will focus the most on. So I won't get into too much of that today, but just generally thinking based on today's conversation, the fit. So based on what I was telling you about MS, the investigative program, the documentary program, the data program, the dual program, the MA program, and its different concentrations, when you are applying to our school, we want to make sure that the program you've applied for is the one that will really suit you the best based on what you're telling us in the application. So again, as we went over what I was talking about, if you really want a broad curriculum where you can explore a lot of things, definitely apply to the MS program and tell us about the fact you want to explore a lot of things. If you really want to go deep into investigative journalism and learn that methodology most of all, tell us about that in the application for that. So again, making a really good case for fit overall based on what I was talking about. If you want to go into the MA and you have experience already, tell us about what you've done already and what you want to go deeper into, whether it's something you've already reported in, like politics, or if it's something you've never reported in, but you want to get some really great training in that, like science. Just tell us about that in that application. But again, it's the fit, looking at the programs and telling us why the program you've applied for is what you really want to do. Because we don't want to admit people to programs that aren't the right fit, because then everyone's unhappy, basically. And because they're short programs, you're not really able to do a change of major, really. Once you're here, you're moving really fast. So we want to make sure that you're in the place that you should be right away, based on the admissions decision we're able to give you. Question about the MA program. What kind of journalism experience is necessary for that? This person has worked for a magazine for years, worked as an editor in a publishing house, and works in a literary works as a literary critic as well, and has a limited amount of reporting with a capital R, as they say. I would say the program that you could probably apply for, I would say, is probably still the MA. We want to see a depth of reporting or analysis in the work that you're doing that you're going to show us in the MA application. So even if you haven't done a ton of reporting, we would like to see some of that. So if you have some work samples that show some reporting, that would be helpful. But definitely if you have worked as a writer for a magazine, whether it's more features or more essays or whatever it is, include your deepest, most kind of impressive work for the MA. And I didn't say this at the outset, but keep in mind for MA applicants out there who want to still maybe be considered for the MS in case the admissions committee feels like for whatever reason you might be better suited for the broader MS curriculum, you can mark a box in our application that says, if the admissions committee feels I'm better suited for the MS, I'd like to be considered for that too, which means that you wouldn't need to apply, as again, we don't want people applying to 2 programs at once, but allows the committee to make a decision for you if they do feel like the MS would be the best fit for you. So you can mark that box. It would mean that you would need to take the writing test, which is one thing we require of MS applicants, but not MA applicants. But if you do mark the MS consideration application box, then you would need to take the writing test. But that, in a sense, gives you a good amount of wiggle room there, where the admissions committee can make a decision. And if they really feel like you're better suited for MS, you would be able to maybe be admitted to that instead. But I would say overall, if you've worked for many years in kind of the publishing, writing, magazine world, I would say I'd feel pretty confident you can make a good case for the MA. So I would say start with from there and maybe mark the box if you want to. A question about whether classes are held at night or during the day. Good question. A mix of all of it. So basically, we have a lot of classes. The MA classes, I'd say, generally meet during the day, with a couple exceptions. MS classes meet at all times of day. They can meet in the morning starting at 9 a.m. They can meet at noon, 1 p.m., sometimes 6 p.m., sometimes later. So for that reason, MS and MA full-time students should expect to kind of be able to be on campus and in classrooms at all different types of day during the weekdays. So again, keep in mind that that's why we definitely say don't expect to be working or doing any other stuff on the side if you are a full-time student in our master's programs. And there are going to be course options that you can choose. Some of them will meet for several hours during afternoons and evenings. There'll be a lot of options out there, but I'd say to be open in terms of your schedule to having, classes at any type of day for the master's programs. Let's see what I would say here. Question about Spencer and KE and Knight Bagehot. Well, that'll be administered from another office. So if you're interested in the Knight Bagehot program, I would say connect with them on their website, and they will be inviting people who are interested in that program to go to their webinars. We don't actually administer the non-degree programs through our office. So for Spencer or Knight Bagehot, definitely connect with those offices independently for those webinars or other types of information for them. And let's see, is there a maximum number of MS courses part-time students can take per semester? I would say generally there's a very set curriculum for the part-time students in terms of how it's parceled out over the 2 academic years. So there's not a lot of just customizing it, taking a few courses here, degree credits here, credits there. I would review, I'll put the YouTube page up in a minute. We did a whole session on that curriculum with our director of that program, Elena Cabral, and she talks a bit more about how that would go about. But keep in mind for any of our students in the master's programs that you're not going to really need to tabulate your credits to determine whether you're going to graduate. This is not like maybe an undergrad program you've been in before, or maybe some other graduate degree level programs you've done before, where it's all about you need so and so amount of credits to graduate. You need to kind of keep track of that. We have a very set curricula with modules that you complete. All students complete the same modules. You'll have choices in terms of the actual course materials and kind of subjects you'll kind of go into in those modules. But for that reason, you never need to be aware of your credits because you do the modules, you graduate. That's basically how it works. So I wouldn't be too concerned about trying to keep track of that because we're not really a credit-based program in terms of how the students kind of need to figure out their ability to graduate. It's all just based on you complete the courses as they're determined in the curriculum, and you're fine, and you'll be able to graduate. And we have a great student affairs team that works with you. Make sure that you're on track for all of that. A question about the GRE. GRE is not a requirement for our master's programs, so don't need to take that. We don't really look at it for our MS or MA applicants. So again, GRE is optional / not really recommended. If you don't need to take it for our master's programs, don't bother. It's just an expense of time and money to do that. However, this year, if you are applying to our PhD in communications program, you will need to take GRE. That is a requirement for all PhD applicants. So that's something that if you're really interested in that program, want to apply, great, but you will need to schedule that GRE to have that test score done in time to be reviewed with your application. So GRE, yes, for PhD, not at all for the MS or MA programs. And then, no need to take that. And I didn't say at the outset, but if people didn't know already, all of our programs, degree programs this year, we're waiving the application fee. So you do not need to actually submit the $100 fee, which was the normal application fee in the past. So no fee for the application. You will need to, yes, do the GRE if you need to apply for the PhD program. And then a question about this. This person has a degree in communication studies. They want to go into academia, skeptical about going into the PhD because it's hard to get funding as a student and applying for a master's program because of funding. Okay, for people thinking about the PhD program versus the master's programs in terms of funding, bear in mind that the PhD program does have a automatic kind of financial package that goes for anyone admitted to the PhD program, kind of very similar to what other doctoral students would get at Columbia University and other departments here. So there is funding if you are admitted to the PhD program that gives, basic tuition is waived and there's stipends. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but there is a stipend and tuition is taken care of for at least the first few years of that program. So the PhD, the reason you should apply to the PhD is because you really want to get into academia. You really like what our faculty have to offer you in terms of your research interest. So that's your compelling reason I'd apply to the PhD. I wouldn't be concerned as much about the funding question or about other issues, but definitely look at the fit for the research that you want to do and whether we can serve that well through the people that we have on our PhD faculty to guide people through that. And bear in mind that we only admit currently 3 students to the PhD program a year. So it's a very small cohort, and we really look for the best fits in terms of the research interest. So that's the way to think about PhD applications for our school. Oh, great. I'll take a couple more questions here. A deferral question. Okay, that's a question that's a little more kind of in the weeds, but our deferral policy is pretty strict here. So if you, for whatever reason, don't think you want to, come to Columbia next year, even if you're admitted, I would recommend, unless you really want to apply twice, to not apply this cycle. Apply for the cycle you really think you're going to be able to attend if you're admitted. So definitely do that because we do not, with our new policy, we do not consider deferrals unless you are summoned for military service, whether that's in the US or another country, or if you get some sort of, specifically time sensitive, like funding grant, like a Fulbright to go somewhere else or something like that. Basically, we're not doing that now for medical reasons or other issues. So we know that may come up. We do welcome people if they are admitted and for some reason can't attend, whether it's for financial reasons, life reasons, other things that come up, family reasons, whatever it is. We can definitely reapply and we're able to sometimes roll over some materials, but we don't offer like a full-on deferral for that. So for that reason, if this is the year you really want to apply, go for it now. And if you're thinking, nah, next year I want to do some other stuff, maybe I'll apply and then I'll just defer and go the next year. Don't do that because we won't probably be able to grant a deferral just because you want to do other work or have other things that come up that you want to deal with in the next year. I'd say definitely apply again for the year that's the best fit. And then in terms of, let's see, what else I see here. Um, and so PhD program, the PhD program is not a program that's between GSAS and the journalism school in the sense that we administer the doctoral program here through the journalism school. However, you're able to definitely work with faculty and take classes in GSAS departments. So history, political science, anthropology, things like that, law, international public affairs. So outside of GSAS, you can also work in other professional schools as well and work with faculty. So it is interdisciplinary in terms of how it's designed. We can't guarantee exactly which faculty and other schools might be able to work with you. It might depend on what their schedules are, their workloads. But you're very welcome when you apply to the PhD program if you want to potentially, work with so-and-so also in the history department or the sociology department. Tell us about that. You don't need to get their permission first. I would say just kind of set out your kind of plan of research and the kind of people you want to work with in your application, and that will help us understand whether this program, again, will best suit your particular interests with the kind of faculty we have at the university, more broadly speaking. And then one more question I see here. This is somebody who has been working kind of in journalism and other types of fields. They want to continue writing stories about women and challenges they face and report on climate change. And they're wondering whether MS or MA is the best fit. If you've been freelancing and you have some good clips that you've already done, whether they're, for major publications or more local ones, and you want to go deeper into, in this case, you said climate change as a particular area, I'd say if the science concentration seems like a good fit because it does offer great training on doing climate reporting as well as other type of environmental reporting, medical reporting, and you'd like to really do some really more deep work in that area, I would say potentially apply to the MA program. If you can show us again in the clips, whether they're freelance, whether they're college level, whatever they are that you've done reporting, understand the basics of reporting and storytelling, I'd say apply to the MA program. And if you have doubts about that, mark that box, like I mentioned earlier, to be considered for the MS. And that way you kind of cover both bases without, totally risking your chance for admission if the committee feels like the MA might be a little more advanced from where you might be. So I would definitely go for that one in that case. And then one second, I'm gonna put the link for the chat. Someone asked also about financial package for the PhD. Go to our PhD site. It has the breakdown of the PhD funding package there. We also talked about it a bit in the PhD webinar that we held a few weeks ago, so you can look at that there as well. So I hope this was pretty informative from everyone. Again, I'm glad that people are still, thinking about getting their application maybe together for this cycle. Don't fret if it's still, it seems like the deadline is coming up. There is a lot of time still to get the application materials together. Again, we've waived the application fee itself. The main things to think about are recommenders you need to ask to get letters in, whether you're applying to the Master of Science, MA, or PhD program, and also getting your essays written. We definitely focus, and I'll talk about this again more in the application tips webinar about the essays. So, think about getting those started and start working on them. Maybe not think to turn them in right away, but to get a draft started and then tinker with it a little bit, think about it a little bit, fine tune those a little bit and not to rush yourself through that. So I'd say no rush yet, just get started and then review this webinar and then some of our other ones on the YouTube channel, which give us you hopefully a lot of more insight into the different aspects of these programs, the admissions process, and hopefully it'll give you some good guidance. So we hope you will do that. And as I mentioned, we'll have a financial aid webinar coming up soon, as well as some drop-in sessions to hear more about getting the scholarship application materials in. And we also have application tips about the application coming up. So plenty more times to hear from us, talk to us. We also have drop-in sessions on Wednesdays and on Fridays where you can learn more about a lot of our programs and get some more specific questions answered that way too. So the conversation can definitely continue, and we hope you'll get those applications together and continue to chat with us in the coming weeks. Thanks again for attending. Great to see people from all over the country, all over the world joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at more events soon. And we hope you have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye, everyone.